Greetings and salutations. Dr. Ryan here with another algorithm in internal medicine. I hope you're well. With tomorrow being Father's Day and all, I thought I could favor you with a couple of dad jokes. So let's go. My wife is fed up of my constant dad jokes. So I asked her, babe, how can I stop my addiction? She said, whatever means necessary. I said, no, it doesn't. It wasn't that bad, man. Come on. One day, a little boy asked his dad, Dad, can you tell me what a solar eclipse is like? The dad replies, no, son. Yeah, that's better. If you are ever in need of a male influence in your life and he has a dad bod, don't call it a dad bod. Rather call it more of a father figure. Last one, I promise, last one. People often ask me where I store all my dad jokes. I say, in a dad database. So today we're going to be breaking down our 36th algorithm in internal medicine, our 4th in gastroenterology. We're going to be speaking to gastrointestinal bleeding. A quick thank you to everybody who's been liking and sharing my videos and been subscribing to my channel. God richly bless you. Okay, let's get stuck in. Gastrointestinal bleeding can be overt, in brackets acute, or occult, in brackets chronic, and is sometimes obscure. Overt GI bleeding is visibly evident to the patient or clinician and presents with hematemesis, coffee ground emesis, melena, or hematochezia. Alright, so occult GI bleeding is not visibly evident, but can be established with a positive stool GWEC test, which sometimes we call the fecal occult blood test, with or without the presence of iron deficiency anemia. Now, obscure GI bleeding refers to recurrent GI bleeding, which is either overt or occult, in which a source remains unidentified after both upper and lower endoscopy. Patients with overt GI bleeding and hemodynamic instability must be resuscitated with isotonic crystalloid solutions and blood products. Causes of GI bleeding involve, as the algorithm says, either upper or lower gastrointestinal tract. Now, upper GI bleeding is generally associated with hematemesis, coffee ground emesis, and or melena. Lower GI bleeding is generally associated with hematochezia. Now, upper or lower endoscopy is the initial diagnostic and often therapeutic modality of choice in the setting of GI bleeding. Upper GI bleeding can be substratified into esophageal, gastric, or duodenal, and lower GI bleeding can be substratified into structural, vascular, or inflammatory. So let's take some time and break this down. Upper GI bleeding, we said, is esophageal, right? In the way of esophageal varices. So this usually you have in the setting of cirrhosis with portal hypertension, right? A Mallory Weiss tear from repetitive retching, often in alcoholics, right? Esophagitis, malignancy, watch out for Barrett's esophagus, and Boerhaave syndrome, okay? Gastric causes of upper GI bleeding include peptic ulcer disease, quite common, gastritis, which sometimes is drug-induced as well. Watch out for that, especially with the use of non-steroidals. Gastropathy in the setting of portal hypertension, so portal hypertensive gastropathy, varices as well with portal hypertension, malignancy, gastric malignancy that is, right? Gastric antrovascular ectasia, and this is one that we often call the so-called watermelon stomach, which happens in systemic sclerosis. So watch out for that. Duodenal lesion, which is an apparent submucosal artery, and a Cameron lesion as well. Okay, then we have duodenal causes, and then we have peptic ulcer disease causing a duodenal ulcer. All right, duodenitis, angiodysplasia, and telangiectasia, which are vascular lesions. Right, so 17 causes of GI bleeding coming from the upper tract, which is above the ligament of Treitz. Okay, below the ligament of Treitz, we speak to lower GI bleeding, which can be substratified into structural, vascular versus inflammatory. So structural, we have things like anal fissure, diverticulitis, polyps, and malignancy. Watch out for that, right? Vascular issues like hemorrhoids, angiodysplasia, telangiectasia, hemangioma, Kaposi sarcoma. Inflammatory issues like ischemic colitis, which we will be breaking down in a subsequent algorithm. Infectious colitis, very important. Inflammatory bowel disease entailing ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, which we'll be revisiting today a bit, and radiation colitis, all right? So this is just a handy mnemonic that I discovered from the people over at drkahari.com. Very helpful resource. I really encourage you to go and check it out. So a handy mnemonic for peptic ulcer is FAB time, F-A-B time. Okay, so F speaks to fatigue or feeling full, speaks to satiety. A is abdominal pain or discomfort. B is for belching or bloating. T, a tender abdomen. I is for ingestion of food, right? M is for mellitic stools, and E is for emesis, which speaks to vomiting, right? Crohn's disease, another handy mnemonic is that of Christmas. So cobblestoning on histology, right? H is for high temperature, that speaks to the fever. R is for reduced lumen. I is intestinal fistulae, because you know this commonly is a feature of Crohn's disease. S is skip lesion, and this is how you differentiate ulcerative colitis from Crohn's. It's one of the features in that Crohn's can cause skip lesions anywhere from the mouth through to the anus, but ulcerative colitis, the characteristic feature is continuous mucosal involvement affecting the colon preferentially, right, with backwash ileitis and so forth. So transmural affectation as well, where all layers may ulcerate, right? There's also a differentiating factor between ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. M for malabsorption, A for abdominal pain, S for submucosal fibrosis. So Christmas time is here. Okay, this one we've seen before in our algorithm and diarrhea, but I thought I'd just reiterate it here for the sake of GI bleeding. So as we know, Crohn's disease, this is taken from midcomic.com. Thank you, Mr. George Muniz. So Crohn's disease may involve any segment of the GI tract from mouth to anus. We said this, mouth to uranus. Very clever there. Saw what you did there. Well done. Prolonged diarrhea with abdominal pain, fatigue, and weight loss, and exhibit skip lesions with transmural inflammation. And the key feature is that of anal fistulae, abscesses, fissures, and ulcers, versus UC, where there's recurrent episodes of inflammation limited to the mucosal layer of the colon, bloody diarrhea with mucus, and it involves the rectum and extends proximally. And we said extraintestinal manifestations, a whole truckload of them: oral ulcers, arthritis, spondylitis, or sacroiliitis, under the ambit of, IBD or inflammatory bowel disease associated arthropathy. It's one of the group of seronegative spondyloarthropathies, which we will be looking into when we're approaching arthritis. Okay, epicellitis or uveitis, erythema nodosum, pyoderma gangrenosum, hepatitis, sclerosing cholangitis. Watch out for this. It has a specific association with ulcerative colitis, right, and thromboembolic events. All right. So as always, we have a beautiful OSCE question once again from the Mayo Clinic. Thank you for that, guys. So these are the hand and skin findings of a 26-year-old woman who complains of early satiety. Her past medical history is notable of upper GI bleeding. Aha! So we've got that highlighted in yellow, and rectal prolapse. What is the diagnosis? So we can see this very hyperextensible joints and this skin here that is quite thin. All right. So which of these is the diagnosis? Ehlers-Danlos, cutis laxa, osteogenesis imperfecta, congenital contractural arachnodactyly, or Marfan syndrome? Well, the answer here is a whopping A for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So just a little bit about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is characterized by highly elastic connective tissue. It takes many forms, up to 15 forms of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome which do exist. The autosomal dominant forms of the disease account for about 90% of the reported cases. Patients have classically hyperextensible and lax joints that are prone to dislocation. Patients with skin manifestations have hyperextensible, fragile skin that heals poorly, characteristically forming wide, thin, so-called fishmouth scars. The skin may have a velvety texture. But why are you talking about Ehlers-Danlos when we're covering the topic of GI bleeding? Well, patients are predisposed to gastrointestinal motility disorders, visceral diverticulosis, mitral valve prolapse of 50% of the time, dilatation of the aortic root, pes planus, scoliosis, degenerative arthritis, pneumothorax, dilatation of the pulmonary artery, and angina. So you see, they can bleed from the visceral diverticulosis, which can become inflamed and give you diverticulitis. All right. So, guys, as always, I just want to encourage you. But today I want to speak about the topic of love. Now, Mother Teresa said, and I quote, "There are no great things in life, only small things done with great love." She also said, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. And she also said, and this one is a powerful one, spread love everywhere you go. Let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. All right? And what does the Apostle Paul say in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13? He breaks down love, and I love the way he breaks down love. He says, 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4 to 5, right? Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. So I pray that you would decide to persevere in love. Okay, the Bible says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. This is the greatest commandment, and I hope that will be the case in our lives. Have yourselves a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow, being Father's Day. We're going to be talking about hepatocellular liver injury. I'll see you then. Take care and God bless.